students, as we came to know about force and effects of force, now let us see balanced and unbalanced force. Yes, you might have heard these names, but some students are having lots of practical problems that why it is called to be as the balanced one and why the another one is not balanced. Let me explain you briefly here, students, that the balanced force is nothing but the equal and opposite force cancelling each other and maintaining the zero net force. Okay, so if the resultant total of all forces acting on an object is zero, it is called to be as the balanced force. Okay, like here is a diagram that you can see a tug of war game is playing here by the students. So you may see here that the number of students at this side and the number of students at this side are equal. Okay, and let us suppose that all of them are exerting the same equal force. Okay, so the force that is applicable from this side, let us suppose this one is F1 and here is the F2 part. So all of them are exerting and applying the same force. So overall force here on the rope is balanced. Why balanced? Because equal amount of force is applied but in opposite directions. So this will cancel out each other and the resultant force will be zero. So the thing here is, in case of balanced force, is nothing but the balancing of two forces, and they are all actually in opposite direction to each other. So they are cancelling each other. Now the resultant will be zero. Okay, that is why we are calling it as the balanced force. So students, let us take one more example of the balanced force is actually anything that is put on the ground. You yourself, if you are standing on the ground, are exerting force in downward direction. But if you are, just suppose that this box is exerting force in the downward direction. So why not it is making a pit inside the ground, and because it is providing force in that downward direction, then why it is not going in downward direction? Yes, because ground is also applying the equal and opposite force. That is why it is get balanced. Okay, like if this box is applying 5 Newton of force in the downward direction, then ground is also applying the same amount of force in the upward direction. And if an elephant, let us suppose the elephant is here and if it is applying 150 kg or Newton, we can say, so it is applying the force of this, then ground itself again is applicable that it is also applying the force in the opposite direction. We can take it in Newton form. Why? Because weight is considered to be a part of a force. Okay, so here the equal and opposite balancing of force do not let anything to go inside, and if somehow there is a condition that the ground is not holding, is not up to capable of holding any of such weights, then definitely it will make a pit on it. Okay, so this is the reason why the force, some kind of forces are known to be as the balanced force, because the equal and opposite force is applied by the surface or any object that is applying the force in opposite direction. So what is unbalanced force then? Okay, so here the example for the unbalanced force is that if the resultant total of all forces acting on an object is not zero. As we have discussed in the balanced force, that the resultant force on any particular object, that is actually we need to calculate that the force that is applied on that object is balanced or not balanced is according to the force that are acting on that particular object. If they are all balancing each other and forming a net balance that is zero, then it is known to be as the balanced force, and if it is not zero, then it is known to be as the unbalanced force. As you can see here, a boy is pushing a box here. Okay, now if it is pushing, like he is pushing a box, so definitely this box will going to move in this direction. Yes, particularly wherever he is pushing the box, it will move in that direction only. Okay, so let's suppose here we are having a tires also, that will make him easy to move that. Now if he is applying force, so this box will start moving from one place to another. Now why the box is not applying equal and opposite force on the human, on the boy itself? Why? Because this box is not in a condition of capable to applying equal and opposite force right now. It is just a fact of chances that now, because the box is not that much heavy, that it is able to provide that much of force so that it cannot move from its place. But because it is lighter in weight and we are actually applying a wheel here, which makes the friction value also less, so this boy now is very much capable of shifting this box from this position to another position. So here, if little bit of force is applied by the box also, okay, so now that force that is applied by the box and the force that is applied by the boy is get cancelled, and because that force is not zero, so now the capability of the boy is exceeding. Let's suppose there is the 2 Newton force that is applied by this box and 10 Newton of force that is applied by the boy by pushing it. Now 10 minus 2 will be 8 Newton, and 8 Newton will be the resultant force that is applied on this box right now. That leads us to the way that it is shifting from here to here with a force of 8 Newton. Okay, so I think students, this example is very much sufficient for you to clear your concept related to the unbalanced force. Okay, now, so another difference of the balanced and the unbalanced force is like the balanced force is zero and it is not causing any acceleration, but the acceleration is caused by the unbalanced force. So what is acceleration? Is nothing but the change in velocity. Yes, change in velocity is causing the acceleration. As you know, in the previous chapter, that is the motion chapter, you have learned that the change in velocity is causing the acceleration and with respect to some time. Okay, so keeping the body which is in rest position, and if the position of the body is changing with certain velocity, then also we can say that the acceleration is causing, because it is moving from 0 to certain value. Okay, so that also causes the acceleration. But in case of balanced force, because there is no change in the body, it is again still. Okay, so the example is also clarified the thing that the force that is present in object in stationary or the moving with the constant velocity, like the velocity is not changing, is the constant one. If the velocity is going with the same pace and in the same direction, then we can say that there is no change in velocity. And if there is a change in velocity, so we can say that it is actually a acceleration. Okay, so here in the matter of the unbalanced force, we can say that acceleration works because the force required to move the stationary object or to stop the moving object, we need certain external force to make it moving or make it stop. So that actually create the imbalance in between the object because the equilibrium get disturbed. Okay, so this is the difference between the balanced and the unbalanced. So keep it in mind, dear all, that in balanced, we are actually having all net force 0. But in case of this, we are not having net force 0, and that not having any net force 0 causes acceleration.